Hello and welcome to our course Marketing Management Part 2. We are in week 1. This is session 4. I am Shashi Shekhar Mishra and I have with me my senior colleague Professor Jayanta Chatterjee. So, we have started talking about the first P, that is product, in the last 3 sessions, and what we have discussed is what product is, okay, and then what are the different benefits that a customer expects from a product, what is a product hierarchy, all these concepts which are relevant to product as a concept we have discussed in the previous session. Now, what we are going to discuss today is something which is very important when we talk about product, is new product development, which is also commonly abbreviated as NPD. Before we go into the process of new product development, it is important to understand why new products are new product is a class of innovation, why innovation is so important to organizations or to any economy. So, Professor Abramovich from Stanford University in 1950 persuaded a study where he has looked into the economic output of United States for the period of 1870 to 1950s, and he has tried to model this economic output in terms of two key input variables, that is capital and labor. Interestingly, what Professor found in that study was that the entire change in the economic output, only 15% of that was explained by these two key input variables, that capital, that means capital and labor only contribute to the 15% change in the economic output of the United States in the given period. So, now the big question at this point of time in front of academician was from where this rest of the growth is coming from, and then Professor Schumpeter's student Solow came in with a study where he talked about, he has shown that residual portion of the economic growth is coming from the technological changes or the through the innovations. So, you can understand that collectively capital and labor only contributes 15% to the change in the economic output. On the other side, single-handedly technological changes contribute to more than 3/4 the growth in the economy. So, that is why there is so much of emphasis on the technological growth or technological development, because this is the primary driver in the economic growth of any society, and that is why you also see the current day all the organizations are so much focused upon activities which are related with innovation, because innovation is something that drives today's organization's growth, and at least we can say that it is the necessity or it is a compulsion to any organization for their sustainability in the market.
In fact, these days there are global studies where even a nation is studied in terms of its total innovation competency as well as the innovation output, because even in the, as it is rightly shown in this work, that the not only the growth of a company, to explain the growth of a company, we have to look at the role of new products and the role of innovation. Similarly, even in the growth of a nation, the GDP of a nation, the growth in the total economy, we have to look at new products, new services and innovation.
Yeah. So, in fact, as Professor Chatterjee is saying, there is a global index of innovation of the different countries, and you can look at the most developed nations are the one which are the most innovative one.
Correct.
So, you will see a direct correlation or the correspondence between their society's innovativeness and its well-being, because newer method of technological development, they contribute directly to the betterment of the society, whether it is in the medical sciences or whether it is in the lifestyle, agriculture. So, all these things contribute directly to the betterment of the society, and that is why you see a surge in the economic output of that nation compared to the nations which are laggard in terms of capturing these technological changes. So, with this I think we have well highlighted the importance of the innovation, and not only to a society and organization is also relies upon innovation, and one type of innovation is product innovation, under which this new product development process comes. There are other types of innovations, like there are service innovations, there are management innovation, there are process innovations. So, among the different types of innovation, there is one which is called product innovation, and under which we study this new product development process, where an organization comes out with a new product or the offering in the market that caters to the needs of the customers. Now, what constitutes this new product development process is, you will see that across organizations there are different ways, or there are different activities which are performed to come out with the new products, but you will still see that there are common differences or the obvious differences across the organizations. But one thing is there, that across all these organizations you can broadly classify this new product development process in the way it is being depicted in this slide. And this model was or this stage gate system of new product development process was given by Professor Robert G. Cooper. Now, in this stage gate system of new product development process, you can see there are 7 stages of new product development process, which starts with ideation and screening, followed by concept development and testing, then prototype design and testing, followed by the production of the new product, and then design and launch of the product, and then the last stage, which is shown as PLC management or product life cycle management. Now, here
I was just going to say that in the product management literature, the stage 1 on this diagram, which is ideation and screening, has been expanded, and that has been called the so called fuzzy front end of new product development, or fuzzy front end of innovation. The reason being that while from the second stage, that is when you have a concept which is well developed and ready for testing, from that stage it can be managed as a project, as a maybe a somewhat linear, maybe there are multiple branches, multiple activities, but it is still almost like a sequential process.
Yeah.
The success of one stage leads to the other stage, and they have a cause effect or some kind of a causal relationship. But in the first one, which is the ideation and screening, there people have distinguished among these 3 terminologies. One is, the first is opportunity, and then from opportunity it leads to idea. So, opportunities can be many, and opportunities are triggered either by customers' need or social needs, and opportunities can also be triggered by opportunity recognition can be triggered by the developer's curiosity or creativity. So, it can arise in a lab, it can arise in the mind of a product innovator, researcher. But the other part is actually it is comes from the customer, voice of the customer, it comes from social need. So, these are 2 different ways ideas arrive out of opportunities recognized, and then we have to follow methods to select, to evaluate different ideas using some models and tools, and then comes the concept which we need to. So, in a way concept comes from ideas, and ideas come from opportunity recognition. This 3 stage is part of the this first stage here. These can be called sub stages or some kind of a cyclical process, and at that level it is not exactly linear, but it may be a recursive loops, back and forth. Some people have called that process as double diamond, that means diverge and then converge, again diverge and again converge. So those are interesting things. Maybe in a later session we can discuss, because it is very important for entrepreneurial companies to understand the fuzzy front end in depth. And but we can actually look at today, in today's session, or maybe even tomorrow's session, we can devote our discussion to new product development in a large organization, multiple businesses. So, in a multi-divisional company, what
With
is
a
the
large
process?
portfolio of products, how you manage.
Yeah, maybe today's session and tomorrow's session we can dedicate to that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's.
So I'll just sum up of what Professor Chatterjee has said, like the opportunity recognition can be from the researcher side, and either it can be recognized from the customer side. Commonly in market literature, there are two terms which are given to them. One is called market driving and one is called market driven. So market driven is when the opportunity is identified from the customer side, and when you are market driver, or in that case the idea is coming or is pushed from the researchers or the product managers side. So these are the two things, and as you can see that opportunity leads to identification of opportunity leads to new product ideas, and then this idea being generated has to be screened. So you can see after each of these stages there has been a gate which is shown as gate 1, gate 2 up to gate 7. After each of these after each of these stages, the stage has to be evaluated on predetermined criteria on each of the stages, and then once the activities from this stage is passed, they basically progress to the next stage. Now it is very important to understand that importance of the fuzzy front end, and it is very important to understand that if you have to fail, you fail early, because as you progress in the new product development process,
failure becomes more expensive.
It becomes more expensive, and organization has invested a very scarce resources and the time of its management and staff, and then the mistake could be something which could lead to future problems for the organization. So moving from the ideation and screening, the next stage is called the concept development. Whatever ideas you have screened, you try to develop full concept out of them, and you go to the customers or the target market and you try to test them. Once you have tested and find out which are the ideas which fulfill the needs of the organization on gate 2, you move and progress to the gate 3, the stage 3, which is prototype design, and the next stage, in some organization you will see that prototype design and testings are combined in one stage. So you develop the different prototypes and test them in the market. Commonly this prototype testing, if it is inside the organization, it is called as alpha testing, and when it is done at the customer stage in B2B market, often it is referred as beta testing
With some loyal customers or no,
yeah.
close customers.
Yeah. So from here onwards, once you have decided and you have found out, tested some prototypes which looks to be good, the process moves into the production stage, where you ramp up your production facilities and you go into the production process. You refine your production process as per the needs of the new product, and at the same time, though it is shown as a different stage or the next stage, you start building your marketing launch program for this new product. So the product has to be launched, and you have to be ready with all your marketing plan, so that the product is launched with full preparation in the market. And the last stage is, once the product is launched, it goes through the different stages in its life cycle. So that the last stage is called product life cycle management. So with this is the stage gate system of new product development process, and as I have already said, that you will see, though you will see that in different companies different activities are in the different manner various activities are being carried out, but if you want to sum up the new product development process, they can be rearranged under this stage gate system of model. Now the important point here is what decides the success or the failure of a new product development process. So as Professor Chatterjee was saying, that it is very important to understand that the new product development process in the large firm differs from as it is being pursued in a small time startup. So there are basically different factors, and one of the way of understanding the success or failure or the performance of a new product is dividing or distinguishing the factors at the business unit level and the critical success factor at the project level.
Correct.
So now looking at the business unit level, what are the drivers of a new product development process? And as you can see, there are 5 important factors which have been mentioned in this slide that defines or that plays an important role in deciding the fate of the new product. So the very first thing that comes into the drivers of new product performance at business unit level is the quality of the new product development process. So how you execute the new product development process is something very important, and there the first thing what you were already talking about, that solid upfront homework we will talk about more on this part, that how you manage the fuzzy front end, because that is the part of this entire process which has the maximum level of uncertainty, and that is where also this is also the time where things are taken in more lighter way and things are not formalized. So on the one side it is critical to product development process, and quite often the companies take it in an informal way. So that is not in conjunction or not in synchronized way of as it is required.
And many interesting studies have been done to show that at this stage your investment in developing the product is minimal, because you haven't gotten maybe have not procured material, you have no machine time, it's everything is happening in the mind of the team. So the investment is low, but its impact on the later need of investment or its impact on the later cost structure of the product, its impact on the success possibility of the product is very high. So cost incurred is very low, but impact on the future cost is very high.
Very high. So in fact decides the fate of the organization.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so the one thing is that the how you manage the fuzzy front end, and then the different decisions, like if you have tough go or kill decision at the end of each gate. So how you decide the which products ideas to pursue, which ideas not to pursue, how you evaluate the different stages is something very important. Now one thing which I would like to highlight here is that quite often this stage gate system is also criticized because it's a very formalized way of new product development process, and people say that sometimes when we are very formal or when we follow this stage gate system in a very regimented way, often the creativity gets killed, because sometimes I can go back on this model and you can see that whenever there are newer ideas which are radical in their nature, they may not be able to fulfill the gate 1 requirements of the organizations, like a routine, I mean probably what you say a commonly available idea, that is something which is not new to the world. On the other side, if you come out with a radical ideas, you may not be able to understand what is the market potential, and in that case sometimes the idea gets killed at the stage 1 itself, and that is where the criticism for this stage gate development process also comes into the picture. So I think it is important that while we understand what this stage gate system is, but at the same time we also understand what are its limitations are. so that you are able to manage the process better. So, next factor that comes into the picture is a clear new product strategy. So, which is about at the business level you should be clear about the goals for the new product that you are going to bring in the market.
So, I think at the business unit level there will always be some opportunities which are incremental opportunities or adjacent opportunities where certainty will be high, and the business managers will usually prefer those kinds of projects. However, as you very rightly pointed out, that in the process we may actually ignore certain a little uncertain or little out of the way or little radical ideas, which if pursued can lead to big growth. So, I think in many organizations these days therefore, there are two parallel activities. There is a regular finance dominated top management dominated process where risk is used as a measure or chance of success is used as a measure to filter and decide on investment priorities. But side by side one should have some kind of an internal venture fund dominated process where you can actually look at some of these wacky ideas, some of these out of the box or radical ideas and provide them also a fund. So, that which means actually do not take this very black and white position, have some space and opportunity for some of these grey or mixed or uncertain areas.
So, in terms of basically the portfolio of new products,
yes,
you have to hedge the risk and you have to balance that some idea should be able to provide a growth in the market, at the same time some kind of balance that you are able to sustain what you are already doing. So, that is basically is talking about the new product strategy. The next thing that comes into the picture is the resource allocation for the new product. So, how you allocate the resources to new product development projects is also very critical. You have a very ambitious project, but you have not allocated the right kind of people do not pursue the right skill, and in the lack of the skills that good idea or probably a very radical idea may also die. Another thing is that you need to have in terms of the financial resources as well as the other types of resources, competencies, all these should be adequately assessed before the project and they should be allocated. So, a product idea should not die because it lacks the resources. Many times this has been observed in the organizations that good ideas have died because not the right kind of resources have been allocated.
I think this portfolio word that you used is a good idea, which means that you can think about depending on your financial strength or current financial imperatives. For example, if a company which is actually doing not so well in terms of cash flow, when they decide their new product portfolio or the projects that they are going to fund, they have to see that those products which are cash flow positive or those products which are those ideas which are less cash demanding can be given priority. And whereas on the other hand, if a company's cash flow is very good and there are lots of cash getting generated, but maybe profitability is not that good.
So, you go for the radical ideas.
So, then you can actually fund some of the radical ideas. So, this mix of whether it should be 70% for incremental and 30% for radical or 80-20 or 50-50, that will have to be determined out of the company's overall financial position and strategic objectives.
So, the last thing which is said to be important or critical to new product performance at the business unit level is the quality of the project teams. At the end of the day, probably it is the people who matters, and in new product development process this is basically a cross functional activity. So, what kind of people related resources you allocate to a project is very critical. it is said that you are supposed to bring in the best people from the organizations for the new product development process, because product development is something which drives the organizations, because other routine jobs and other kind of related jobs can be done by the people which pursue or having a which have the basic skill. But for new product development process, you have to have the best talent and the people who have critical analysis skills, and they can basically come and probably contribute to this thing. And one thing which is also very important, and it has been talked about in the literature, is how basically these teams are managed, what is the culture inside the team,
that small group dynamics.
the group dynamics, the communications, the autonomy given to these teams. And also one thing that has been talked a lot in the literature is their product champion actually. So the person who pursues that idea, there has to be a person who has to pursue the idea. All the other organizational resources and the people can gel around him, and that actually drives the organizations to pursue.
That's a whole issue about leadership.
Leadership, yeah.
So maybe we can wrap up today's session at this point, and perhaps in the next couple of sessions we can go into details of these stages and these activities.
So we'll stop this session here with this discussion on major drivers of new product performance at the business unit level. When we'll meet in the next session tomorrow, we will talk about the critical success factors related to project level, and then we will also talk about some of the case studies, and we will also talk about the differences in managing the new product development process in large organization vis-a-vis a small organization or startups. Thank you very much.